Hi, Year 6. So I'm just going to read chapter 13 to you today. Just thought I'd show you as well. My cat Ashen, who's just sat next to me for the last 20 minutes, keeping me company. So, chapter 13, Pick Out Boy. Chapter 13, Hurt. Someone was calling me from far, far away. Quiet, muffled voice. Cameron! Cameron! The voice grew louder and more urgent. It rushed at me like a Eurostar train. Cameron! Cameron! And then I was awake. It was dark. It took a few moments before I realised that my eyes were closed, but I was awake. Cameron, wake up now! Cameron! I was awake. And my chest hurt. Not badly, but it ached. I tried to take a deep breath, but a spear of pain shot through me from front to back. I instantly held my breath, waiting for the pain to ease, which it did. Slowly, I opened my eyes. Dr. Bryce and Dr. Ehrlich were looking down at me. They wore masks and gloves, but their eyes were happy. More than happy. Their eyes shone with delight. That's when I knew I'd had the operation. I'd made it. I was still here. I smiled, and the effort exhausted me. I tried to speak, but my tongue was stuck to the roof of my mouth, and my throat hurt. In fact, my throat was hurting quite badly. I hadn't expected that. I tried to swallow, but my mouth was as dry as Mars. Hello, Cameron. Dr. Bryce beamed at me. Even with the mask over his face, I could see that he was beaming. I raised my hand and put it over my throat. Dr. Bryce nodded. Try not to speak. You've had an airway down your throat, so your throat will be sore for a day or two. My heart's gone. Only then did I remember. Only then did I dare to think it. My old rubbishy heart had gone, and in its place, a brand new, strong pig's heart. And then it happened. It crept up on me so slowly that I didn't realise what was happening until I was in the middle of it. I was hurting. Well, not so much hurting as aching uncomfortably. My chest ached. My stomach ached. I wanted to cough. I had a headache. My throat ached. I felt sick. There was probably a millimetre long hair on the back of my hand somewhere that was comfortable, but that was about it. I tried to ask for help. I tried to tell the doctors how I felt. My tongue refused to move. The doctors continued to beam at me. We'll let you get your rest now, said Dr. Bryce. And when you wake up again, you can see your mum and dad. I closed my eyes and just like that, I was out of it. For the next day, I drifted in and out of myself. At least that's what it felt like. I don't remember too much about it. It just seemed that every time I opened my eyes, someone was smiling at me. Mum and dad and the doctors and the nurses. I even dreamt that Trudy was smiling at me. And then at last I opened my eyes. And I was awake, really awake, and aware. How are we feeling, Cameron? Dr. Ehrlich was instantly at my side, smiling. I coughed, and instantly it felt as though my chest was going to come apart. You will still have a cough for a couple of days. That's the anaesthetic, I'm afraid. How's your throat? I swallowed hard. My mouth was no longer as dry as before. My throat wasn't sore either, thank goodness. Better, I croaked. Was that really my voice? I sounded like a rusty frog. Would you like a little ice to suck on? Yes, please. I was still croaking. The doctor used a teaspoon to fish a small chunk of ice out of the water jug on the table by my bed. She popped it into my grateful mouth. It was cool and wet, and actually delicious. You're doing phenomenally well. You can sit up, and if the tests we run today are favourable, maybe we'll have you walking a couple of steps tomorrow. I stared at the doctor. She had to be kidding. I'd only just had a heart operation. What was going on? Were they short of beds or something? It's quite common practice. The doctor's smile broadened. She could obviously read my expression. Not too long ago, it was standard practice to stay in bed for weeks after an operation. Now it's recognised that it's actually bad for you. We like to get our patients up and about as quickly as possible. Even heart patients. Do you understand? I nodded, looking around. I took more of an interest in my surroundings. I wasn't in my room anymore. There were machines all around me and I had an intravenous drip attached to each arm. Pads on my chest were hooked up to the heart monitor beside the bed. I had what looked like crocodile clips attached to the ends of 2 fingers, and there was some kind of cuff around one of my ankles. I felt like Pinocchio before he had his strings cut. I looked up at the intravenous bags on either side of me, pointed to the left one. What's in that? I indicated with my head. It contains your anti-rejection drug, said Dr. Ehrlich. And that one? Dextrose and saline. Huh? Sugar and salt water to make sure that you don't become dehydrated. Dr. Bryce entered the room. How are we feeling today? Fine, I shrugged. And I was feeling fine, in a peculiarly detached kind of way. Somehow it was all a bit of an anticlimax. I spent so many weeks thinking about the operation and the days leading up to it that I hadn't really given much thought as to what would happen afterwards. And now, here I was, with not much of a clue as to what should or would happen next. We're amazed with your progress. You're doing extremely well, Dr. Bryce told me. Does that mean I can go home soon? I asked. There was no escaping the look that passed between Dr. Bryce and Dr. Ehrlich. Is something wrong? I asked immediately. Nothing for you to worry about. Dr. Bryce's smile was about as wide as it was false. I studied him carefully. I thought you were going to be honest with me and not treat me like an idiot, I said, disappointed. Dr. Bryce shook his head slowly. I'm sorry if that's how it came across. It's just that we've had some bad news today. No, not about you or your operation, he added quickly when he saw the look on my face. At least, not directly. The doctor paused, took a deep breath and turned to Dr. Ehrlich. Janice, could you go and get Cameron's parents, please? What's going on? I struggled to sit up further in the bed. The bleep of the heart monitor was getting faster, as if I needed that to tell me that I was getting anxious. Mum and Dad came into the room. Their expressions were grim. Mum was carrying a newspaper, and in that instant, I knew what had happened. I did ask you all to keep this strictly confidential until I formally released the details to the media, Dr. Bryce said to no one in particular, which is how I know that he knew it was me who'd let the cat out of the bag. Marlon gave me his word that he wouldn't tell anyone, not even his parents. Couldn't deny that I'd been the one to blab, but I still tried to defend myself. Well, this newspaper speaks for itself, doesn't it? Mum said tersely. Dad shook his head. I thought John and Erica were our friends. I thought of Marlon's mum and dad and all the times we've been back and forth to each other's house. The two families had even toured the Lake District together. I'm sure that rag made them an offer they couldn't refuse, Dr. Bryce said with disgust. But they must have gone to the newspapers with the story to sell in the first place, Mum pointed out. And then what we've got here is it's a newspaper page, like a page from a newspaper. So I'll read it to you. It says,